Hi, it's Jon Cronshaw here with my author diary for the week ending April the 2nd, 2023. Can't believe it's April. So I have had a busy week. I have been working on a couple of projects. I've been working on the Ravenglass Legends, doing work on getting the fourth novella in that series, drafted, and that's going well. Also working on what's it called? This secret project, which isn't really a secret project anymore because I've released the first of it to my mailing list. So I mentioned it last time that I've got this idea that's a bit kind of out there in terms of what it is I'm doing. So this is a fantasy project, and it's basically going to be a serial that I will make into a novella eventually, and it's called Orphan Farm Boy of Destiny. And what I want to do is basically lean into a lot of the cliches of fantasy and create something that is also meaningful. So it's going to be a difficult challenge, but I'm enjoying writing it. So I have sent the first part of that to my mailing list this week. I will keep updating that. I do have a first draft, but I'm going along doing the edits and then sending it to my mailing list. Hasn't gone through an editor or anything like that. It's just, as good as I can make it. When it's finished, I'll put it together, do another draft, and then get it to a proper edit. So that should be good anyway. And I think it is going to be the prequel to, I don't know what it's going to be yet. It could be a standalone novel, could be a short serial of novellas. Don't know what it's going to be yet. But again, I just like this idea of playing around with the cliches, tropes of fantasy, seeing if I can revive it in a different way. So I really lean into it, but also, as I say, make it meaningful. Anyone familiar with the idea of metamodernism will see this as a trend that is happening in different places. So see it as a metamodern version of the hero's journey, if that is something you're familiar with. And if not, then ignore me. So as well as that, I also did a writing group this week. So I attended a writing group, it's the first writing group I've attended in several years. This was good. New writing group. I think there were about 8 of us there. I'd like to have a bit more conversation with the people. We introduced ourselves and then got on with writing, and that was it. But it was good because what I did is I wrote an outline for the 5th book in the Ravenglass Legends series. And I think that was pretty good. Really good focused hour. So it's definitely got the value in the sense that, it's free, so obviously that is a value. But in terms of the time and the travel and things like that, it's definitely worth it to get that focused time, surrounded by other writers, other people doing creative things, and just getting head down and planning the next novella. So that is definitely something I will go back to. I also went to the local speakers club this week and did a Q&A about my writing and work. So that was really good, some really interesting questions on that. So I really want to do more of that kind of thing. So in the future, I will be looking at doing things like conferences and panels and things like that. I think just this is something I wanted to do before the pandemic, and then the pandemic came along and that kind of set things back a few years. But I think because of doing the speaking and public speaking stuff, working on that, doing all these videos, I feel more confident actually talking in public, knowing that I kind of make sense. So that's definitely good. In terms of reading, I've read quite a few books this week, all of them non-fiction. I read The Last 50 Pages by James Scott Bell. I really like James Scott Bell's craft books. He does writing craft books that are usually very focused and in-depth on one subject. So this was just about how to write endings. And I feel like I can always do with improving my writing craft. I'm never at a point where I'm satisfied with what I've done. There's always room for improvement. So that is definitely a book I recommend to people who write fiction and want to improve their craft. It's probably not a book that is good for people just starting out, but I think if you've got a few under your belt, it's definitely a helpful one. I'm also continuing my reading of books about things like cults and I don't know, kind of conspiracy movements, extremist movements, that kind of thing. So I read a book about Scientology called Scientology from A to Xenu. That was fascinating, very disturbing. Not sure I want to be honest, I'm not even sure I want to make any comments about that cult on here, in case I become fair game and they come after me. Also read a book called QAnon Anon. So this was about the QAnon conspiracy movement, whatever you want to call it, kind of tracing that back through, different online communities and things like that. So it was interesting, especially because the author was Australian, so it was done from a bit of an Australian perspective about how such a peculiarly American conspiracy ended up affecting countries across the world. So about how it affected Australia, Germany, Japan, things like that. So yeah, it's very interesting, and just looking at the roots of that. So it's going over a lot of ground that I've read in some other books about this thing, but there's some new things in there as well. So I definitely recommend that if that is something you're interested in. Also, what is it? Yeah, I'm reading a book called Bringing the War Home, which is about the white power movement in America in the 1980s and 90s. So as I'm sure you'll agree, that'll be exciting reading. Interested in that stuff. I think it's the kind of what would you call it? It's story fuel, because there is a thing that I'm looking at in my next series that is to do with this kind of thing, this kind of movement. Not necessarily racial, but a rebellion kind of thing. And there is going to be kind of, I think, conspiracies and cults, that kind of stuff going on as well. So definitely getting me in the mindset for that. I have had some questions this week. What was it? Lynn asked, how do you come up with names of characters, places, objects, etc.? I usually steal them. So my Ravenglass Chronicles, Ravenglass is a place in Cumbria. I've not actually been there. Should go there, really. But Ravenglass, it's just the name just was evocative, and it made me imagine this black glass stuff. And I know that I'm sure that the town itself has got nothing to do with anything in the Ravenglass Chronicles, but yeah, the name was evocative, and it just kind of sent my imagination going. For names and things like that, I usually play around with things like Google Translate, or I look at baby name lists, but I might go for different countries, or there was a database of medieval German names that I found that was really interesting. So lifted some names from that for my Ravenglass Chronicles series. So yeah, different things like that where I get the name, and it's got to have it it's got to resonate with either a sound or a meaning or something like that. So yeah, I think it is just about the ideas that are buried in different languages and things like that that can come out through the naming of objects and things. Just as I say, just stolen from the world around me, because the world, you can just add a new spin, a new meaning to certain things that exist. So that is what I do. Got more questions. These are from, let me just scroll down. Into the Unknown on Twitter. Sent me a few questions, actually. So number one was, would you ever consider collaborating with another author when writing a book? I have considered that. I have tried it. It didn't work for me. And this wasn't through any fault of my own. This was just the circumstances of the other authors. It just didn't work. I tried to do a project that was 2 other authors, and I really focused and got into it, delivered everything I needed to, and then the other 2 authors didn't, and there was a lot of dragging of feet, and just didn't happen. And I ended up repackaging what I wrote as a standalone novel, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been burnt a bit with collaborations. Like it's something that I would like to definitely do in the future. I feel like that is the future for me. My eyesight is running out, so um, working with other authors, especially getting other people to work in the Ravenglass universe, build that up, um, is something that I think needs to happen. I do have a resistance just because of past experience and also the logistics of accounting, really, doing things like royalty splits and things like that. And it's just like less effort I can do in terms of all that background admin stuff, the better. So I think that is why it's been putting me, put off. But I can also, I do collaborate with other people in terms of brainstorming and planning and asking questions about stories and, collaborate with people with, an editor and cover designer and things like that. So there is collaboration, but I think, yeah, maybe if you're referring to more of a co-authoring thing, then yeah, it's something I'm considering, but it's finding the right people, finding the right drive of the people and commitment. And I don't know if everybody is wired the same as me. So putting my expectations on other people might not necessarily be fair. So question number 2, do you watch any fantasy sci-fi and do you find yourself influenced by these shows or films? Yes, I do. Do enjoy sci-fi films especially. Yeah, so, I mean, Game of Thrones was one of my favourite TV shows. Loved Lost first few series of that. Battlestar Galactica, again, Cowboy Bebop, loads of stuff, anime. Does it influence me? It depends what you mean by influence. I think it all influences me. All stories influence me. Whether it's directly, though, is a different thing. But I think that most artists steal stuff, repackage it, reform it, remix it. I think that is part of the creative process. There might be elements of characters that I take from different things that aren't necessarily plagiarism, but I might think, I like how that character responds in that way. So, and then, once you start putting your own stuff into it, it changes and warps anyway. So it's always going to be different and it's always done in your own voice. And that's the bit that is where the magic is, really. It's your unique thing that you add to it. Next question. Do you get ideas in your dreams? Yes, I do. And I have. My first novel, Wizards of the Wasteland, the opening scene of that was based on a dream, something I'd seen in a dream, where basically a guy pretending to be a wizard goes to a settlement after the apocalypse and shows off technology as if it was magic. So that was the opening scene. And yeah, that came from a dream. And there's other things as well come from dreams. A lot of the stuff, not necessarily sleeping dreams, but waking dreams. I do a lot of daydreaming when I'm coming up with ideas. And I find that helps to come up with different things like daydreaming in the shower. That should be a tax write-off for me. I should be able to write off my showers as part of my creative process. So what else? How do you deal with writer's block? I don't, because it doesn't exist. Writer's block. I used to work as a reporter, and if I told my editor I had writer's block, I would get sacked. So I've learned that you just write. Sometimes what people see as writer's block might be something else. It might be depression. It might be, another kind of mental illness issue. It could be that you're just not prepared yet. You need to do a bit more work on your characters, more work on your outline, more work on your world building. If you don't outline and world build and are getting writer's block, maybe that's a message that you do need to prepare a bit more. What are your relationships in your book? What does your character want? Can you throw something in random, and then if it doesn't work backwards? I'm sure as well there's AI tools that are coming out, the chat, whatever, GTP, I can't remember what it's called, but the AI tools that are coming out now, I'm sure that you could put a prompt into that to give you some ideas to get out of thing and then carry on writing it yourself. I don't know, I'm sure there's different ways, but I feel that the writer's block as an idea, as a concept, is a crutch that has been invented by literary types as as an excuse, really. Which sounds harsh, but I think that whatever it is, there's something else behind it, and that's the thing that needs addressing, not this mythical thing called writer's block. So yeah, I'm recording this Friday afternoon. Shortly, I've got to go and visit the eye hospital because I've got cataracts in my good eye. So that's good, isn't it? So I've got to go and have an appointment. I'm not looking forward to that at all. They're going to dilate my eyes. I might not be able to see anything for the next 24 hours, so that sucks. But it needs doing, and if it can improve my eyesight, then, you know, I've just got to lump it, haven't I? Do it. So I'm doing that this afternoon. Next week is the Easter holiday for my son, so he's off school. My wife and I are going to be taking a break off writing. I might do a little bit here and there, but yeah, I am going to be taking it easy the next week or two, just because I'm tired. Like, the clock's changed at the weekend, and I've just felt tired all week. Getting up an hour earlier it's not me about a bit. So yeah, hopefully having a bit of a rest, readjusting to the times, I'll feel more refreshed and ready to get on with the next lot of books. Oh, one last thing. I have launched the box set of the Gambit duology. So I didn't realise I hadn't done this. So what I've done is I've launched it, and it's free. So you can get both books for free this weekend. My hope is that, if you've read my stuff before, you'll enjoy it. It's a bit of a different genre, but grab it for free. My hope is that you will leave an honest review. So please do that. So until next time, cheerio.